Out there trying to negotiate your worth, trying to beg your job to pay your worth, do so no more, because you have to know your worth and you have to demand your worth. So I'm going to share some of the lessons I learned in 2023 about nursing and healthcare, especially as a registered nurse. Welcome back on my channel. This is Grace, and on today's show we share about the lessons I learned in 2023, especially at the bedside as a registered nurse. First of all is knowing your worth. Do you know your worth? Because for me, I really do. And my worth is about what I bring to the table, whereby if we are negotiating a certain pay, I don't care what changed during the contract. I need my pay that I negotiated before starting this job. Because a lot of contracts, you see, you start a contract and they want to shortchange you in the middle of the contract. And most times we accept that. Oh, because it's comfortable, because I've been here for this long and I don't want to go somewhere else. Guess what? They do that to not just you, they do that to all of us. And the more of us accept that bad behavior, guess what? We are losing money. And in fact, they won't value us because we don't know our worth. I don't know about you, but for me, I have a BSN and I put a lot of time and money and effort towards this degree that I need to get my worth. And so whoever doesn't respect it, sorry, I've really cut off contracts just because they didn't pay me my worth. Because if I start on a contract and we're about to start, one time they offered me $2,500. Right before I start, they went to $1,800. I said, "Two. We have $2,500 a week. We're not going back to nothing." They tried to get back to 22. I say, "No, sorry, because I can't trust you. You don't have any integrity. So why would I even continue working with you?" And this is not just for the contract. This also goes for staff. So lately I was working a PRN job, and when I got hired for this wonderful PRN job, I didn't realize they were not paying me for my shift differentials. You see, because I work nights and weekends, and there's a good reason I work those nights and weekends, because not many people want to work those nights and weekends, which means they offer me an incentive to do that. Because if you're not offering me anything, why would I want to do that? You see, sacrifice my nights, sacrifice my weekends for free? No, it doesn't work like that. So lately, I was supposed to get an incentive every month, every weekend, every night, every holiday. Do you know these people did not pay me my incentives? So I literally found out the last month I was there. And I realized all this time, I've really been working this and busting my behind, and these people are not paying me extra for nothing because the check wasn't adding up. But I was like, you know what? Maybe because it's a non-profit, maybe it's because of this, maybe it's, it was, and I really thought it was taxes too, you see? Because when I check my pay stubs, I'm like, maybe it's taxes, but I work these hours, but this is not adding up. Guess what? When I finally asked, they were like, oh yeah, because you're part-time, you don't get paid for nights and weekends and says who? No, I work nights, I work this weekends. I deserve to get paid. I put in in fact, I gave them 4 weeks. I put in my 4-week notice. I'll go somewhere where they can afford to pay me. Just like that. Because guess what? If I have the experience and the knowledge, I don't have to be desperate. So I don't know how many people are out there desperate, because that's what you are doing. You are messing the rest of us up. Those who are accepting low-ball contracts, you are messing us up. Even in COVID, you see? So this wasn't just last year. This happened in COVID. We were getting paid over $100 as nurses an hour. So I even said that. I was like, you know what? When people start taking low-ball offers, this is going to jeopardize all of us. And it did. Right now, to even get a $2,000 contract out of state, but people are not thinking, you got to duplicate expenses. You see, you just sacrifice. And that money is not free, people. We bust our behind. Most times, working on the job, and you have so much stress, you're working with less, you're sacrificing so much. So whatever they are paying us is not really It doesn't compare to how much we put in. So I don't know about you, but I know my worth. Even during COVID, I had to step away from certain jobs. And I was like, if you're not paying me such and such, I really had to take off for a long time, trying to make sure that those contracts were back up. But that brings me to the next point. Because knowing your worth is one thing. However, are you able to walk away when they can't give you your worth? Are you? Are you setting yourself up for success whereby you're not desperate to stay on that job no matter what? I know we have bills. I know we have families to take care of and so many other demands. But are you actually willing to walk away? Because knowing your worth is one thing, but if you're not able to follow through on your demands, nobody's going to care. Because they know you're not going to be able to do anything about it. You're talking about it, but you're not going to, you see. I used to have a coworker who had so much experience. This lady had at least 20 years of experience. And do you know, so I got to this particular job I was a contract worker. So I was at this job, and she's the one always training the new nurses. She's the one putting in the effort, doing this, doing that. And I remember she was mentioning that she hasn't been given a raise to become a nurse manager, but she put in for the raise. And I asked her, why are you still here? Not to shame her, but I was asking her, like, legitimately, why do you stay where they don't value you? You have 20 years you've given to this place, and they're showing you they're not valuing you. But you're doing everything that the manager should be doing. You see, you're doing schedules, you're doing this, you're doing that. Girl, what are you busting your behind for? I don't know if she remembers me, but maybe she did something about it. But maybe she wanted to retire, whatever she wanted to do with her life. But for me, it gotta make sense. But you see, because as much as you're giving somebody else, they need to be reciprocal. But most of these organizations are not. Because as soon as you leave that, guess what? They'll find somebody else to replace you in a heartbeat. So do not sacrifice your well-being, your livelihood for somebody who ain't going to sacrifice the same for you. Another thing is I realized that hospice, oh my God, hospice is so hard. Oh my goodness. I always underestimated hospice. And you know when you're not doing something, how you can underestimate it? I was like, bedside is hard enough, but hospice, we have an 8-bed unit. That's a walk in the park. I have help. I have an LPN, and I have 2 CNAs on duty. It was tough. We used to have so many admits in one shift, so many deaths, so many transfers. I'm like, what is this? It's like a revolving door. I can't keep up. Paperwork after paperwork. Oh, who's the nurse? Everybody wants to talk to the nurse. You see? And then sometimes they'll call the nurse and I'll go there and they're like, oh, the other nurse. I'm like, okay. Goes to tell the LPN, and then the LPN comes back and tells me, because I'm not going to be back and forth with your people. You see? But that's how the patients treat us sometimes. Because they see you and they think, no, you can't be the nurse. You see? So you're dealing with all this stress and all this emotional turmoil. But hospice was definitely an eye-opener for me, because I didn't realize how stressful it is, especially dealing with families who are not on the same, they're not on the same terms. The patient wants one thing, the family wants another. It's going back and forth, and you're in the middle. You're the one answering the phone. It's like, what do you want from me? No. You signed this patient up to be in hospice, because when you come to hospice, guess what? This is end of life care. So we are maintaining. We are not doing nothing aggressive. But they want you to do everything aggressive out there. No, I'm not going against the doctor's orders. You see? And you signed up to be in hospice. That means the patient wants comfort, a lot of education. So it was just stressful throughout the day. Chaos. That's what I would call it. A lot of chaos going back and forth. On most days, some days would be okay, but on most days, but it was really sad, especially if the patient was by themselves. Oh, and maybe they died too. Oh my goodness, that was so much emotional turmoil. Yes. So, and that also reminded me that all these fields in nursing, nothing is easy. And maybe just sitting on the desk and just answering calls and just doing nothing. But nothing is easy, because I've done home health That was tough, driving into people's homes. That was terrible. People not being there whenever I showed up, and people canceling appointments, and I had to burn my gas and change my schedules and mess up. No, and I wouldn't get paid if I don't see them. I don't know what field is easy. The hospital is not easy. Long-term care is not easy. So I'm still trying to find something easy. So please, mention in the comments below what is easy for you out there, because your girl, I'm working too hard, and I'm tired of working too hard. Because the thing is about working hard, it's overrated. You see, the problem is they don't give us enough resources when we work too hard. Because if I'm talking about when I was doing the hospice thing, it's 8 beds. And when they tell you they have an LPN, the LPN does literally, maybe I'll say 20%. You're doing 80%. So, and most of the time you're doing 90% if they're even there, because most times they're not even there. So, what is this again? Because you're the nurse, I need to keep my license. So I need to make sure that I have an ideal environment where they have, and that's why most people actually go to California. This is one of the reasons, because people tell me all the stories about California. So one of these days, when I get my California nursing license, I can travel to California and live like most of y'all out there in California, living your lives. Because they say that they pay your worth, they really give the right nurse to patient ratios. So I don't know how true it is in every hospital in California, but I'm hoping it is, because your girl is planning to come out there one of these days. But in the meantime, we will have to work with the Louisiana system. The South is a little tough, y'all, but we are working together, y'all. Pray for us. And I think I learned about being a nurse also included, you need to expose yourself to different territories. So being comfortable to become uncomfortable. I didn't know anything about hospice, but I was open. I was open to learning, I was open to growing, and now I have enough idea or some experience about hospice. And I know if I have a family member, a friend, or somebody who might be going through some things, you see, which are end of life, I know I'll be able to assist in some way. You see, I might not do everything, but I'll be able to show up, maybe share some encouragement, maybe tell them a few things that they might consider with end of life care. So that's always good, to make sure that you expose yourself to different things. And so stop shying away from stepping into an unknown territory. That's a good lesson. And last but not least is doing what you love and enjoy. Because if you're not enjoying what you're doing, it's not worth doing. So I realized I was really burnt out in hospice, when it's like every time I'll go home, it's like I have a headache. And this also happened to me when I worked in ICU. I would have migraines after migraines after migraines every time I would show up to work. So I realized that was taking a toll on my mental health, and it happened even during hospice, because I'm this kind of person who you would call an empath. I care so much about people. I want the best for everybody. And so I guess even in hospice, I really felt helpless when somebody comes in and you're not doing anything aggressive. You see, you're not doing any CPR. You're not doing anything, you see, life-changing. No. Do not resuscitate. You hear me? So I was like, oh my God, I'm so helpless most of the time, and I want to help. But it's end of life, it's comfort. It's palliative, so you just have to keep them comfortable. You see, and maybe my body wasn't used to keeping people just comfortable. My body is used to helping them do better. So, and that's why I was like, you know what? I do like seeing people get better. That's my personality, and that's what I want to continue doing. So I started another job at a hospital where I'm going to be working at a step-down unit. And of course, if somebody says they are DNR, of course I'll respect those wishes. But as of now, I'll be able to do more than I've been doing at the hospice. So I hope you learned a thing or two about this video, and also some of the lessons that I learned during 2023. And I'm taking these lessons on to 2024. I hope you learned a thing or two. And please mention your comments below about your lessons that you learned, especially your healthcare professionals out there, because we need to share this dialogue. Until next time.